So when the warning sight for anger goes off, we must stop and ask ourselves, what is the real issue here? Why am I angry? What am I angry about? Is it hurt? Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it fatigue? Find out, because whatever is behind the anger, you'll need God's help to deal with it. You'll need His help to get at the core. Understand that? Clarify the issue. And then, fourth principle, deal with the problem. This is important because many people tend to suppress anger or put off dealing with their anger. The problem with this approach is the fact that bearing our anger is like bearing toxic waste. Eventually, toxic waste will leak out. It will manifest itself in many other ways, but it will manifest itself eventually. Suppress your anger, and eventually it will leak out and it will poison our bodies in the form of stomach problems, sleeping disorders, headaches, and it will poison your minds. Christian psychologist by the name of Dr. Paul Meir says that bottled-up anger is probably responsible for 95% of psychological depression. We need to take time to resolve the problems causing our anger. And this is the principle that we find in Ephesians 4 and 26, when he says, do not let the sun go down on your anger. And don't give the devil a foothold. He challenges each one of us to deal with the problem. There's an ancient Latin proverb that says, he who goes to bed angry has a devil of a bedfellow. The longer you suppress your anger, the more easily that Satan can get a foothold in your life. And he longs to have a foothold. He longs to make that an issue, and that to be constantly on your mind and your thought day and night. Solomon warns in Proverbs 30 and 33. He says this, for the churning of milk produces butter. The pressing of the nose brings forth blood. So the churning of anger produces strife. So don't put off dealing with the source of your anger. If you're angry with a person, what are you to do? Go to the person and in prayerful, Christ-like manner talk about the issue that is bothering you and seek to resolve it peacefully. How do I know that? How do we know that's what we're supposed to do? Well, friends, if you've got a Bible, look at Matthew chapter 18. Matthew chapter 18 and verse 20 and verse 15. Jesus says, you got a problem with somebody, go to the person in person. And talk about the problem face to face. Face to face. This is the clearest form of communication and makes it much easier to resolve the issues of anger that we have. By the way, warning light, never ever deal with anger over the email. Oh, that's a problem. Deal with your anger person by person, not by the email, because this tactic is like adding gas to the fire and it's not biblical. The point here is that we have to deal with the issue head on. You see, when we don't resolve our anger, we become more angry, and we become angry people. This leads us to the final bit of biblical advice. What do you think it might be? Manage your anger. Replace anger with forgiveness. Replace anger with forgiveness. Think about it. Venting anger inappropriately doesn't work. Suppressing anger, is that effective? Is suppressing your anger effective? No. Well, often the best way to deal with anger is to replace it with Jesus qualities. Look at Ephesians 4:31. What does he say you're to replace your anger and your rage with? He gives a whole list of things, but anger and rage are in there. What does he say you're to replace your anger and rage with? He says, get rid of bitterness, rage, and anger. How? Replace it by being kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other. How? How? Just as Christ. God in Christ forgave you. That's how. How can you do it? Reminds me of a story, and I've used this illustration before, and this will close, of James Elliott. He was a missionary, and 4 other missionaries who were killed in 1956 by the Aka Indians. The very people that they had gone to share the love of Jesus with. Other missionaries soon followed in their footsteps and were successful in bringing these people who had killed these missionaries to Jesus. But the most amazing part of the story occurred with a girl by the name of Kathy Say, a teenager. She was a daughter of one of the missionary martyrs. In fact, he was a pilot. And she was baptized by the very man that killed her father. When I read that, it blew me away. Instead of buying a gun, taking revenge, she went on God's team and continued the missionary witness that her father had given his life for. A testament of forgiveness. She chose to replace her anger with what? With what? Forgiveness. Is there someone you're angry with? You have. I know. Some of you have. Have you replaced it with Christ-like quality? Have you gone through those steps? If not, do it. How can we humanly possible do it? We can't. The only way you can forgive like that is by kneeling at the foot of the cross and see Jesus hanging there for your sins. The truth is we cannot make the choice on our own strength. We can only forgive as Jesus forgives when we see His compassion, His kindness, and His love for us. Then we are empowered to do it. Paul says, Christ in you, the hope of glory. It's only because Jesus is in you that you have any possibility of doing any of this. And you cannot do it on your own strength when He is. Friends, anger is a human emotion. And with God's help, we can learn to be angry and sin not by using God's management tools. What are they again? In closing, stay away from angry people. Take emotional time out when you're angry. Clarify the issues. Deal with the problem and replace your anger with forgiveness. This morning, many of you may need to prayerfully confess, Lord, I need your power to get rid of this foothold of anger in my heart. Help me to get rid of the anger and replace it with forgiveness and love. Some of us may need to ask forgiveness for not imitating Him clearly to those around us due to our selfish anger. Or you may be here this morning and you feel that you're losing the battle with anger because you don't have access to the power source. You don't know Jesus. You don't know the one who has conquered death. You don't know the one who ended it victorious. Well, today is a day to claim Him and ask Him to forgive you of your sins, to come into your life and make His life work through you.